Might be in your ASHP or TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, pretty much everywhere. Of course, the Occupy Democrats Network as well, where I would ask you to please click on that subscribe button. It's only a cup of coffee, $5 a month, and you'll have special access to me, yours truly, private chats with me, and really anytime you want, and extra, I guess you could say, extra content that you will get from yours truly as well. So go ahead and do that. You could also, as I said, follow me on my socials as well. Programming note for all of you. We're going to be playing a best of tomorrow and Friday. What does that mean? Well, if you missed my interview with the QAnon shaman guy, if you missed some of my interviews with some high-profile people, it could be Fred Gutenberg, gun activist, gun rights, I should say, gun legislation activist. Those types of interviews, we'll be playing those over the course of the next couple days, and some very fiery interviews that you may have not heard. Somebody from My Child Advocate will be playing that interview as well. So the next couple days, it'll be kind of like a best of, taking 2 days off. A lot going on, and before we get into the news of the day, and yes, I will be talking about Mike Lindell today, because there are actually, believe it or not, I'm not making this up, serious talks about the possibility of the MyPillow idiot, Mike Lindell, possibly being the next Republican chair. And there are some other people that have been brought up as well. Scott Pressler, I'm going to have some interesting comments to make about him as well. But I just want to start off by saying, it's a crazy time in Vegas, and this is a national story. Of course, the Super Bowl is Sunday. I went down there to Radio Row yesterday, and just walking around and mingling with some people. I also, in a span of like a couple hours, went over to the Live Golf and kind of wanted to see what that's all about, because a lot of people are giving those that went to Live Golf because of the Saudi government-backed professional golf league. I got to tell you, everybody treated me very well with respect, and I enjoyed myself, so call me crazy. But it is a crazy week in Las Vegas. Everybody is converging on Las Vegas, and we'll talk about that a little bit later with Paul McKeskey in hour number 2. So McDaniel's going to be stepping down. The Republican chairwoman is going to be stepping down. She has pressure not only from the far righties in the MAGA country, but also Donald Trump. So the question now is, who is going to be the next Republican chairperson? Now, one of those people that was brought up is Scott Pressler. If you don't know who Scott Pressler is, and I would imagine some of you might not, he's basically a millennial gay white man who signs up people to vote. But he doesn't just go petition and get people to vote. He makes sure they vote Republican, which, to me is ridiculous. Get people to vote. Get people more active within the community. Get people to share their voice. I think that's all great. But he doesn't get people to vote. He gets people to vote Republican. Here's why Scott Pressler will never be the Republican chair, and his name was trending on social media yesterday. Well, first of all, he was involved in a sex scandal. He is a gay man. You can look this up if you don't believe me, and we all know how the far right thinks about homosexuality, okay? Scott Pressler, I don't believe the Republican Party would ever nominate a gay man to be the head of the Republican chair, I don't think that would ever happen. So I want to be very clear on that. And that's wrong, by the way. I don't condone that behavior, but I'm just telling you like it is. It's just like we'll never see, in my personal opinion, a very powerful Republican that happens to be gay. The far right sees being gay as a sin. I don't think, in their eyes, they would put a sinner as the Republican chairperson. So I just wanted to start off by saying that this idea that Scott Pressler is going to be the Republican chair, it ain't going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. But here is something that might happen. This is very possible. Now, we all know that Mike Lindell, the MyPillow idiot, and why do I call him an idiot? Because for years now, he has been saying that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Mike Lindell is a snake oil salesman, is what he is. His pillows suck. Yes, his lumpy pillows. And he has been going on this train for the last several years, brown-nosing Donald Trump, claiming that the 2020 election was stolen. He is a conspiracy theorist, and I believe the only reason why Mike Lindell has gone on this train of conspiracy theories is because he thought it would be good for his product. He thought it would be good for his pillows. He thought it would be great for free advertising. I'll get all these interviews on left-wing media and right-wing media. Well, now Mike Lindell has filed for bankruptcy. He can't even afford to play his commercials on Fox News. His company has gone down the tubes, and he has gone down the tubes. So with that being said, He went on Steve Bannon's show of all shows, Steve Bannon. If you want to talk about the utterly no credibility, Steve Bannon is certainly that person. Steve Bannon asked Mike Lindell if he would take that opportunity, if asked, to be the next Republican chairperson. Here's Mike Lindell's response.
Occupied. Would you step forward? Would you volunteer to take over the RNC if the president so asked you?
100% I would. Then I would have all the tools I need to secure these elections immediately. We've already got everything in place. We just need resources and their blessing behind us. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's amazing because there's people on social media that are saying that, you know, Mike Lindell is some sort of patriot. I can't stand when people throw that word around. Like if you throw around that MAGA flag on a boat, somehow that makes you a patriot. No, that doesn't make you a patriot. There are people out there that'll call Mike Lindell a patriot, the same morons that'll call Donald Trump a patriot, the draft dodger. Let me tell you what I think is a patriot. A patriot is somebody, brave men and women in uniform, someone who risked their life for this country, a brave police officer, the good cops, the heroes, the firefighters, the teachers who are not making large salaries, living paycheck to paycheck because they want to educate our children. Those are true patriots. The only reason why Mike Lindell went on this tour for several years is the same reason why Rudy Giuliani and so many others were so close to Donald Trump for so long. It's because they thought it would be good for them. That doesn't make you a patriot, and you don't even know what the definition of a patriot is. Mike Lindell didn't put America first. He put his pillows first. Mike Lindell decided to lie about the 2020 election. Mike Lindell decided to throw out his stupid conspiracy theories. And the reason why he did it is so that he could get clicks, so that he could get interviews, and that's so that he could get free advertising for his lumpy pillows. That's why Mike Lindell, when you do something for yourself and not for others, that doesn't make you a patriot. In fact, I would argue it's the opposite of being a patriot. Mike Lindell is far from a patriot. And by the way, have you heard him speak lately? He still sounds like he's on drugs and needs help. It is absolutely ridiculous. And then you have this crazy lunatic woman who was speaking at this Turning Point event that they had, a despicable organization. And I guess she's friends with Mike Lindell, and she's trying to sell that sob story that Mike Lindell put America first, and he's lost everything. And this woman actually starts breaking down and crying. The reason why Mike Lindell has lost not everything, but a lot, is because, number one, he floated conspiracy theories, and he's a crazy person who is a threat to this country, in my personal opinion, with his lies, because he has a platform. And the second reason why he's in so much trouble, and I think this is the most important one, is the lawsuits that he's lost. He put himself in that position. He can't even afford legal representation. But this woman at this Turning Point event is sobbing and crying and basically calling, you'd think Mike Lindell was the second coming. Have a listen to her break down and cry at this Turning Point event.
I'm with this team and with Mike Lindell because he has kept every single promise he's ever made. The first person we called was Mike Lindell. And probably the last one we call when this is all over, to thank him for his steadfastness, his courageous, character-rich. Have you ever seen anything like it? Losing everything to gain a country. That's what we're doing right now. The last 2 years to watch Mike Lindell put all of this together in the face of unbelievable odds.
It's so sad. What a hero. What a patriot.
You're going to hear from him special today. This is a bit of an intimate group, but you have to understand everything that has been given up. And so many were unwilling to do it. Could have, but are unwilling because they don't want to lose what they've been given in this lifetime right now. They don't want to lose their wealth. They don't want their reputation attacked. They don't want everything they've ever done to be demoralized because they're choosing to speak out about elections. Democrats get book deals. We get canceled.
What?
Mike Lindell has put together an extraordinary team, and it is my absolute honor and privilege to bring out our very first speaker today.
Wait, Democrats get book deals and Republicans get canceled? Last I checked, everybody around Donald Trump, for the most part, has gotten a book deal, even convicted felons. So I have no idea what she's talking about there. That's a blatant lie. What an idiot. She's actually crying up there at a stage, by the way. She's getting emotional. She's crying. I don't know who that woman is. Somebody at Turning Point. I just thought it was funny to play it. She uses the term reputation as if Mike Lindell has any good. Ask the Better Business Bureau what the business reputation of Mike Lindell is. Reputation. Mike Lindell had a crazy lunatic reputation way before Donald Trump got into office. Losing everything. That is Mike Lindell's fault. When are people finally going to realize that if you associate yourself with Donald Trump, if you work for Donald Trump, and if you brown-nose Donald Trump, eventually it's going to come up to bite you. You're either going to be a convicted felon or you're going to file for bankruptcy. Look at all the people around Donald Trump that have either gone to jail, they're convicted felons, they had to be pardoned, they have no money, they can't pay for legal representation, and their reputations will be tarnished forever. Think about all the people around Donald Trump. And guess what? That's nobody's fault but Donald Trump and the people that decided to associate themselves with Donald Trump. Mike Lindell is a perfect example of that. And the fact that this woman would cry over Mike Lindell. Who are the real snowflakes here, ladies and gentlemen? Who are the real snowflakes? Now, if you're wondering what Mike Lindell is doing today, well, he's not doing very well. He doesn't have any money, can't afford legal representation, can't afford to put his commercials up on cable news anymore. But he is selling you bowel cleaners, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, he had an internet event where he was bragging about his new products that he is selling, and one of them is bowel cleaners. Yes, you can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. Have a listen to Mike Lindell himself.
Like the painting, everyone sees the painting when I do my this is the Vanessa. This is the one I have behind me in my the painting behind me in my MyPillow advertisements, and so her paintings are up there. You have here you have this is a friend of mine, Jim Hansel. These are made into placemats of products. U.S. made, like common products like socks, and then we have innovative products like here's this brush here that cleans inside bottles. I mean, it's every kind of.
That's what Mike Lindell is selling, bowel cleaners, ladies and gentlemen. That's where his career is at right now. Hey, everybody needs one, right? But again, I go back to what I said earlier. There are those within the Republican Party who are actually seriously considering the MyPillow idiot Mike Lindell as the new Republican chair. The guy who had this fake symposium that said he had all this voter information that proved that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Oh, and then all of a sudden, we didn't see any evidence. Where did that evidence go? Interesting. Where did it go, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. I don't know where it went. But do I think Mike Lindell could be the next Republican? I think it'd be hilarious. It'd be terrible for the Republican Party. It'd be great for late-night talk shows. I think it'd be great as far as pure comedy. So I don't know who they're going to choose. Who knows? For all I know, it could be a Marjorie Taylor Greene type person. I have absolutely no idea. But the Republican Party is actually seriously considering Mike Lindell to be their new Republican chair. Now, while all this stuff is going on, ladies and gentlemen, you can't make this up. It gets better. The comedy show continues on the far right. So yesterday, Matt Gaetz, that's right, DUI, Venmo, Matt Gaetz, and some fellow deplorable Republicans introduced a resolution stating that President Donald Trump did not engage in insurrection. The resolution is co-sponsored by more than 60 members of Congress. Yep, that's right. Here's Matt Gaetz in his own words yesterday holding this press conference.
We are here today to authoritatively express that President Trump did not commit an insurrection, and we believe Congress has a unique role in making that declaration.
Interesting. Here's the question I would ask Matt Gaetz and anybody that doesn't think that Trump had anything to do with what took place on January 6th. I would say the months before January 6th, when Donald Trump said that the election was stolen and that Joe Biden was an illegitimate president and they cheated and the Democrats cheated and it was rigged, which he still says today, by the way. If he didn't say those things, does January 6th still happen? You see, ladies and gentlemen, the way our laws work, the way things work in this country, you don't have to directly say, hey, storm the Capitol, defecate on Nancy Pelosi's desk. I want you to attack police officers. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. It was Kevin McCarthy himself, Mr. No Backbone, who said right after the insurrection that Donald Trump bears responsibility for what happened. Of course he does. It's probably the only honest moment in Kevin McCarthy's tenure in Washington, D.C. If Donald Trump wasn't the president And if Donald Trump didn't say that the election was stolen, it's very simple. January 6th doesn't happen. Now, here's Matt Gaetz, who goes on and continues in this press conference defending Donald Trump.
The very experts who often get on television and talk about securing democracy seem to be the first to want to then remove a candidate from the ballot because they are afraid that he is too popular.
Yeah, that's what it is, Matt. It's because we're afraid that Donald Trump is too popular. First of all, Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump in 2020. He's not as popular as you think, number one. He is the front runner in the Republican Party. The reason why many people out there, and I will speak for myself on this one, talk about January 6th, the reason why we talk about accountability when it comes to Donald Trump and the 91 felonies, it's not because we're afraid because he's too popular. It's because we're afraid that we believe he is a threat to our democracy. He's a threat to this country. He's a threat to our national security. We're not afraid because he's too popular, as Matt Gaetz said. We are afraid because we believe, at least I believe, that Donald Trump is a threat to this country. He's a threat to our democracy, and he is a wannabe dictator. We believe in accountability. We believe that if you break the law or you're indicted, and if you believe that that person might be guilty and might have committed some serious crimes, in this case, maybe even the Espionage Act, that you should be held to account. So why is Matt Gaetz doing this? And these 60 other members of Congress that are disgusting individuals. Many of these members of Congress were running and screaming and prancing in the House chambers during January 6th. Well, the reason why they're doing this in this resolution is because of what the ruling against Donald Trump was yesterday. That there is no immunity for a sitting president or former president. So now a lot of people are worried. Many of the insurrectionists themselves. That's what these people are, these 60 Congress people. That's what they are. They are a bunch of insurrectionists trying to tell us Donald Trump is not an insurrectionist after he failed to get immunity, led by Matt Gaetz. Let me be very clear on this. All those 60 people and those people in that press conference, there will be no pardons for any of you. No pardons. That's who those people are. They're a bunch of insurrectionists. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an insurrectionist. And they call people who beat police officers with their own batons, who destruction of property, stole property. Those are the people that they call tourists, tourist visits. No, they're domestic terrorists. It's not me saying that. It's a court of law. And for those people out there that want to say it's the Democrats and George Soros, these people are not insurrectionists. Well, some of those people are Trump-appointed judges and Republicans, and every single one of those people had the opportunity to defend themselves in a court of law with legal representation. It's only the justice system is the injustice system when it's a MAGA Republican that has to face the music. If it's a Democrat or anybody on the left that has to face consequences, then everything is okay. But if it's somebody on the right that has to face consequences, then it has to be the Biden DOJ and its liberals and it's George Soros. So much for the law and order party, ladies and gentlemen. But those insurrectionists that held that press conference yesterday, because that's who many of them are, this will not help them. This resolution will not help. Going to open up the phone lines. Who do you think is going to be the next Republican chair? And what do you think about these Republicans like Matt Gaetz introducing this resolution stating that President Trump did not engage in insurrection? I want to take some phone calls on the other side of the break, and that's what we're going to do. So if you'd like to be a part of the show, the phone number is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the show, it's 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. What do you think about this new resolution that 60 members of Congress, all MAGA Republicans, are introducing, that Donald Trump is not an insurrectionist. Donald Trump did not engage in insurrection. We'll take your phone calls on the other side of the break. We're going to take a 90-second break. Your call's next. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that 99... So are you ready to take your business to the next level? Then get in on the action. Our team will put together the right ad package for you that meets your business needs. So what are you waiting for? Send us an email, sales@ptlradioshow.com. That's sales@ptlradioshow.com, and reach your target audience while maximizing the advertising impact of your business. That email again, sales@ptlradioshow.com. That's sales@ptlradioshow.com. All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us, covering a couple stories here. Figured we'd get off the Trump train here, at least for a little bit, but at the same time, it's hard to, because Matt Gaetz and his fellow Republicans, at least some of them, 60 members of Congress, are attempting to pass a resolution stating that President Trump did not engage in insurrection. Your thoughts on that? And yes, there are some Republicans out there that are seriously considering Mike Lindell to be the next Republican chairperson. That's how the lunacy of the far right in the Republican Party did it. It really is incredible. We're also taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. That is the number to call, 702-221-7283. All right, let's get right to it. Let's start off with Stephen, who's first off on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Stephen.
Brian, how you doing?
What's up?
Lovely show. I'm here in Vegas. You and I have talked once before. I am not opposition, so Donald Trump certainly engaged in an insurrection, and yes, it was an insurrection, a failed insurrection, but nevertheless an insurrection.
Agree 100%. So what do you make of Matt Gaetz and these buffoons, these 60 members of Congress that are trying to pass a resolution saying that Donald Trump is not an insurrectionist? You know, I actually think that the reason why they're doing this is because he does not have immunity. And I think some of these people are very afraid because they're not going to get their pardons. That's what I think.
Certainly. It's all performative, and it's all to kiss up to the orange Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I don't know why it's so, Stephen, I don't know if you've had these types of conversations with some of these MAGA Republicans, but I have them every day on the air and off the air. And a lot of them will say to me, oh, Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong. He's not responsible for January 6th. And my response to them is always the same. And I ask them, I say, if Donald Trump didn't lie about the 2020 election leading up to January 6th, and he still lies about it today, if he didn't say that the election was stolen, if he didn't say that Joe Biden cheated, does January 6th happen? And I get these blank stares because obviously even the most unintelligent of people would still say yes, the insurrection doesn't happen if Donald Trump doesn't do those things. So it puts them kind of in a corner, and they don't know what to say. It's very simple. If Donald Trump wasn't the president, if Donald Trump didn't lie about the 2020 election leading up to January 6th, that doesn't happen. But that's not even my biggest qualm with Trump, Stephen. Look at what he did for 4 to 5 hours as the insurrection was happening. He literally did nothing. If this was a guy that didn't like what he was seeing, right? If this was a guy who said, oh, my God, this is terrible. These officers are being beaten. A woman was shot. Oh, my God, I have to do something about it. But he didn't do that. He sat there probably giggling, eating his KFC in the Oval Office for 4 or 5 hours. And he was begged to put out a video and do something to get these people to stop. And he wouldn't do it. I mean, to me, that speaks volumes of why he is an insurrectionist.
Oh, absolutely. I feel 14th Amendment, Section 3, the aid and comfort to the enemy is something they can easily get him on because he's promised them all pardons. Mm-hmm. And they are certainly the enemy, and they certainly participated in an insurrection. So that's easy to get him on.
You would think so, right? Jack Smith did not charge him with insurrection, although he's got some other very serious charges. But you would think so. I think it's like night and day. And, anytime you talk about January 6th to most MAGA Republicans, they'll just roll their eyes and say that it's no big deal, yet all they do is call themselves constitutionalists. It's interesting. Appreciate the call, sir. Thank you so much, and have fun watching the Super Bowl. Who you got for the Super Bowl, by the way, before I let you go?
I don't really care. I'm not a fan of either team.
Oh,
my Giants suck, and they will for a long time.
That they do. You're right about that. The Knicks suck. Well, the Knicks don't suck. They're not as good as they used to be back in the 90s. But, some of the New York teams are struggling. Yeah, you're right. Well, I appreciate the call, sir. You have a great day, okay?
All right. I'm still listening to you here on TikTok.
Thank you. Sorry about your Giants, by the way. Have a good day, sir. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Actually met Lawrence Taylor yesterday, by the way. Speaking of Giants legends. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Mark?
Well, I think y'all are both wrong about the situation. Trump was never charged and has not been charged with insurrection.
Yes.
He mentioned that he said that we'll go down and march peacefully to the White House to protest.
Right.
He never said let's go attack the White House.
No, you're right. But what I said earlier, and I still stand by this, is you don't have to directly say let's attack police officers and let's engage in insurrection in order to be engaging in insurrection. You know that. The reason why
I disagree with that. I would think legally if he said let's go attack the White House, then you'd have a case of insurrection.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the same question that I just mentioned a few minutes ago then, and help me understand this. If Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen, and he's not lying about the election, which, by the way, it wasn't stolen, then does January 6th happen?
It's possible. It depends on who would have been president at the time.
It's
But he was
possible?
president at the
Wait, hold on. So you're saying if Donald Trump conceded and said, yep, congratulations, Joe Biden, and did what Hillary did back in 2016. You're saying you still think the January 6th insurrection happens? You think there's a possibility that the insurrection still happens?
I'm just saying if it wasn't Trump in office.
But that's not the case. But that's not the case. We're talking about Donald Trump. So I think it's a fair question I'm asking you. You're saying it's a possibility, and I would respectfully disagree with you. If Donald Trump conceded the day after the elections, you and I both know, I think you're a reasonable. Right. You sound like a reasonable guy. Come on, let's be honest here. It doesn't happen, right, my friend? It doesn't happen.
I can agree.
Okay. Good. All right, so let's go with that.
People are upset.
Let's go with that.
A lot of people are just a lot of people are just upset what's happened now that Biden's gotten in there and inflation has risen, food has risen, rent has risen.
So let's talk about that.
Risen.
Let's talk about that. Inflation has not risen. It's gone from 9% to 3.6% since 2021. So that is factually inaccurate. It's okay to have differences of opinion, which clearly we have.
Right.
But
the prices haven't come down yet.
Yes, they have. Inflation. I just told you. Yeah, I'm trying not to get frustrated with you because you seem like a really nice guy. Inflation has gone down from 9% to 3.7%. Hold on. Just hear me out. 9% to 3.7%. Unemployment is the lowest it's been in 50 years. The wages continue to go up. The job report that came out for January is astronomical. The NASDAQ is way up. You have people that are apolitical that are saying the economy right now is doing quite well. If we compare it, and we usually do, to countries that we compare ourselves to across the world, we're doing well. But even with that being said, why are we talking about the economy? And I'm happy to have that conversation with you, sir. But we're talking about January 6th. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. And the only point I'm trying to make here is if you don't like Joe Biden and you don't like his policies, fine. But Donald Trump is the reason why January 6th happened, along with the people that committed some horrible crimes that day. If Donald Trump doesn't lie and doesn't say the election was stolen, January 6th doesn't happen. Some of those people don't die. 140 officers aren't injured that day. That stuff just doesn't happen. Now, you don't have to directly say, go in there and storm the Capitol. If you lie about the election and you incite, that's accountability, and I believe Donald Trump should be held to account. That's all I'm saying, sir.
But he hasn't been. Nobody's charged him with insurrection.
I agree with you, and I talked about that with Jack Smith. When it comes to Jack Smith, I agree with you. That's a fact. He hasn't, but he is facing 91 felony counts, and he is facing some counts that Jack Smith in his behavior that day and what he didn't do, the 4 or 5 hours when he did nothing. If Donald Trump didn't like the violence, if Donald Trump didn't like what happened that day, which, by the way, I think he did like it, for 4 or 5 hours, he just sat there. What would you say if there was an insurrection at the Capitol and Joe Biden was president and for 5 hours he did literally absolutely nothing? What would you call that?
Well, Joe probably wouldn't even know what to do. He'd have to be told what to do. Hey, there's an insurrection going on at the Capitol. We need to make an announcement to stop everything.
Right, exactly. I mean, I don't think that's asking too much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my only point. Let me ask you another question before I let you go.
Go ahead.
Are you a Republican, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes.
Okay, and that's fine. Do you want to see?
I was a Democrat. I was a Democrat until I saw the Democrats. All they want to do is spend.
What are they spending?
And well, I mean, they're spending money on Ukraine.
Oh, spend.
They're spending.
Okay. So it's not just the Democrats that are spending money. You know that Republicans have approved funding as well.
Well, they have to vote too.
Right. The Republicans voted too, and many of the Republicans have okayed a lot of the money that's been, or I should say, money for artillery that's been sent over there. So you don't think we should have helped Ukraine at all, or are you somewhere in the middle, or what? Where are you on that?
I think our money should stay here in the United States.
So we shouldn't support the Israeli. We shouldn't support the Israeli governor, our ally, when when Putin invades a country. You don't think we should help at all?
No.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think,
and the reason why is because we have our own problems that need to be solved here in the United States first. We've got these immigrants coming across the border right now that we're going to have to pay for. They're kicking kids out of school, the American kids out of school, to put these immigrants in to to house and feed, and they're getting credit cards from the government, housing.
So why
food.
aren't your fellow Republicans voting for this bill? Have you seen the bill and how it would, while it's not perfect, both sides help put it together? Why do you think
Well, I
Donald
think
Trump
it's
doesn't?
losing right. The bill's losing right now.
Right, and I'm asking you why. Why don't you think Republicans? It's because MAGA Republicans won't sign off on it. So if MAGA Republicans were serious about doing something about immigration, wouldn't they at least sign off on this bill because it would be a start to address the crisis at the border? It was Donald Trump, I would imagine the guy that you still support, who told MAGA Republicans, don't sign off on this bill unless it's, quote, perfect. There's no bill that's perfect. Donald Trump has also said he wants the economy to totally take a tumble. That's not making America first.
Well, it's just it's something that the American people are looking at, and that's the main issue right now in the polls is immigration.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm confused. What do you mean it's something that America is looking at? When Donald Trump says he wants the economy to implode, and Donald Trump says don't sign off on this bill unless it's perfect, what do you mean?
I haven't heard anything about the economy imploding. But
yeah, Donald Trump made that statement a few weeks ago. He said he's rooting for the economy to implode. That's not make America first.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying that's the guy.
No, that's fine. I can see from a business point he would want it to implode because you buy low and you sell high.
What?
In the stock market. In the stock market,
First of all, the reason why he said that is not for that reason, and you know that. Come on. The reason why he said that is because he wants Biden to look bad, and he would rather the economy implode and Biden look bad than America to be prosperous. You know that.
I can't see him saying that. I can't see him saying that.
Why? Because he's never said ridiculous things like that before. He never said that he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. He's never gone after Gold Star families. He's never gone after women based on looks, right? He's never gone after minorities and called Mexicans rapists, right? He's never done that. He would never be a liable rapist, right? He would never do something crazy like that, right? He wouldn't bury his ex-wife on the first hole of his golf course to save money on taxes. He wouldn't call our brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers, right? Because that's so out of the realm of what Donald Trump would say, right? It's so crazy.
Whatever.
Well, I mean, not whatever. Those are things that Donald Trump has done. I appreciate the call, sir, but I would only ask you with respect to not be complicit and understand that Donald Trump is not the guy maybe that you think he is. He's not a good guy. He's a bad guy. And this is a guy that's not rooting for you and me to prosper. He's only rooting for himself and his 5 layers of orange makeup. I do appreciate your call. You seem like a nice guy, and I appreciate you calling in and being honest with me, even though we disagree. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin is next. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, Brian. Pleasure to talk to you again. Thank you
you
so much for taking my call.
Anytime, sir.
I have a couple of questions with these MAGA. Well, let's just say the Republicans. I don't even know they're MAGA. With the Republicans in the Congress that want to create this resolution, how is that going to affect Jack Smith if they say he's not an insurrectionist?
Yeah.
I mean, are they doing this as a dog and pony show?
Yes. So for yes and yes, that's a good question. So I think it's because Donald Trump and in a court of law, they decided that, and they were right, that Donald Trump will not get immunity, right? I think that scares Matt Gaetz and some of these Republicans. I think some of them might need some pardons down the road. And I also think it's a dog and pony show. I absolutely 150%. They see the writing on the wall that Donald Trump's in a lot of trouble. Jack Smith is not going to charge Donald Trump with insurrection. He would have a long time ago if that was the case. I disagree with that assessment, but I'm still going to respect the process. But it's a dog and pony show. That's all that Matt Gaetz does. He shows up. Beavis shows up on these right-wing talk shows and even CNN. He likes to hear himself talk. And this is no more than a dog and pony show.
I don't understand the reasoning behind doing it. I mean, it's literally a waste because it accomplishes zero.
You're right.
It doesn't help Trump. It doesn't do anything for him.
Yep. You're right.
It placates a base. And this is just, to me, again, another reason why the modern day GOP is probably the worst group of people I can ever think of because they have an opportunity to make things good. If they want to fix the border, they're the purse strings. They could put it together and get it through.
Right.
So
Well,
I'm
it comes down to this.
flabbergasted at this group.
As am I, and you're right. And it comes down to this. Many of the MAGA Republicans in Washington, D.C. today, and those elected officials, they're not lawmakers. They're noisemakers. Jim Jordan is a perfect example of that. The guy in his time in office has never passed one bill. He's just a noisemaker. These people care more about clicks and getting their 10 seconds of fame than they actually care about doing anything to help the country. And Republicans, they can attack Democrats and not like certain policies, but at least Democrats are coming up with actual solutions. The solutions for MAGA Republicans are, let's ban drag queen reading, let's give everybody more guns. I mean, those are their solutions to the problems facing the country. And let's go after Smartmatic and all these voting machines. It's a bunch of nonsense, and they're embarrassing. They really are.
It kind of leads to the next point then. If they do all of these things and they hold back on the border and they do all of the things we see them doing, because they need the basis points, they need the running points during the election. Do you think it's going to affect any of Republicans, not the modern day Republican voters, but actual Republicans that have a brain?
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to actually make and go, God,
it has. It already has.
I'm not a Joe Biden fan. Okay, I
Right.
like what he's been doing.
Sure.
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I see that infrastructure is done well. I see that there's so many things that are
Sure.
good. You're right. The inflation is like less than 3% right now. He's put more jobs on. He's actually added 5 million more jobs
Right.
than when at Trump's peak. Trump had 159 million people working at the peak,
Right.
which he added 3.5 million
Yeah.
from what he
So let me
took
answer
in.
your- let
And
me
Joe
answer your-
Biden has now put 160.
Let me answer your
Yes,
question, though, because you asked a good one about some of these reasonable Republicans, and there are some out there. I disagree with Liz Cheney and her voting record 99% of the time, but I have respect for her because she decided to
Correct.
do the right thing for the country before her own political career. Look at the Republican Party has done to her. Look at what they've done to Mitt Romney and Adam Kinzinger. I had yesterday on the show, I had the former Nevada Republican chair, who is a really good person, Amy Tarkanian. They have ostracized her. They've even slut-shamed her, for lack of a better word. It's despicable. Why? Because she's not a
Right.
Trumper anymore. She's not a Trumper. She calls out truth. Let me be very clear on this. If you are a Republican today and you call out Donald Trump and call out the obvious, if you're a Republican that says on a stage in front of people that are Republicans that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, if you just say that alone, they are going to push you to the side and they might even not let you into a Donald Trump event. That's where the Republican Party is at today. It's the opposite of where the Democrat Party is in today. If you showed up to a Joe Biden rally and said you don't support Joe Biden, they would still welcome you. If you showed up to a Joe Biden rally today in MAGA gear, they would still welcome you so long as you're not disruptive. It is dictatorship
Right.
versus democracy. That's what we're looking at, my friend, and I appreciate your call. Thank you so much, okay?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you
Appreciate
taking my call.
Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Who are we going to next, Justin? I'll make you decide on this one. Are we going to go to Julie next? All right, let's do it. Let's go to Julie next on Pushing Limits. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Brian. How are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Okay, Brian, you have been asking if the January if Trump didn't say the election was rigged, that is January 6th going to happen. And this is my answer to you. Yes, it was going to happen because January 6th rally was already scheduled before the election was finished.
January 6th
That's
wasn't a
her
rally. It was a
thing.
riot. It was a riot and an insurrection.
Well, it was a peaceful protest.
It was
because
not a.
we were questioning.
It was not.
Well,
it was not an
it
entirely
turned-
peaceful. What are you talking
We
about?
we are not going into that because you
What?
haven't watched the entire 40.
Okay, so Julie, let me ask you a
48,000.
question. Were any officers beaten that day? Were any officers attacked and beaten that day?
There were officers beating. and
Okay,
there
so
were
would you call that?
citizens beating.
Okay, thank you. So hold on.
and-
Hold on. Let's backtrack.
okay.
I want to ask you another
Okay.
question now. Thank you for answering that, and you are correct. Would
Mhm.
you call that peaceful?
Well, it was peaceful, and the officer started shooting rubber bullets and gas into
I
the
didn't ask
crowd.
you. That wasn't the question. You
And
just,
in turn-
Julie. I need you to, Julie.
Uh-huh.
I didn't ask you about rubber bullets. Let's just go back. You answered me correctly. Yes, there were officers that were beaten that
Mhm.
day. We agree on that. Would you agree with me that that's violent, that that's not peaceful when officers are beaten with their own batons?
Who was killed on January 6th? Actually,
Why are you not responding to what I just said?
Black Lives Matter has beaten.
The question was not about Julie. Julie, I
Is that an
Julie,
insurrection?
Julie. I need
Is
you
that
to
an insurrection?
Julie. I need you to
When you
focus.
beat a
Julie,
police officer,
Julie,
is that an insurrection?
Julie. I need you
you're
to
not answering
Julie.
me.
Julie, I will answer your
I need you to
question.
focus.
Julie, I need you to answer my question first, and then I will answer your question. You just started this conversation by saying that it was peaceful that day. And then you answered me honestly, and you said, yes, police officers were beaten. And my next question to you wasn't about Black Lives Matter, and it wasn't about rubber bullets. It was a very simple question. I will answer yours after you answer mine, which I think is very, very fair. When officers are beaten, would you call that peaceful? Or would you call that violent? It's a very simple question for you to answer, and please don't bring up anything else. Answer the question, and then you can ask me a question, okay?
Yeah. The crowd was instigated by the cop.
Okay, so you're not going to answer my question again. Julie, this is the problem when you call
I'm
into
answering
No,
you the
you
question.
didn't. No, it was a
Yes.
very, no.
Yes.
Nobody was coerced.
You are
Excuse
saying
me,
no.
Julie.
You are telling
Pod her
no.
down. This is where the pod down starts, Julie, because I've now asked you the same question 4 times. Julie, the people that attacked police officers that day had attorneys that defended them in a courtroom. All of those people that were in a courtroom that faced serious charges all had the opportunity to prove that they were coerced, if you know what that word means, into attacking police officers. And by the way, even if someone egged you on and told you to attack a police officer, that's not an excuse for attacking a police officer, even if that was true. And then you want to bring up Black Lives Matter, and you won't answer the simplest of questions. Pot her down again. The question wasn't whether it was an insurrection or not. The question now I've asked you 8 times that clearly you're incapable of answering is, the people that attacked police officers that day, would you characterize that as violence or peace? Not only do you refuse to answer that very basic question that any normal human being would be able to answer, you bring up Black Lives Matter. As I've said on this show before, because it's a go-to from people like you who aren't capable of answering very basic questions. The Black Lives Matter protests have nothing to do with January 6th. As I've said on this show time and time again, it doesn't matter whether it's a Black Lives Matter protest or January 6th. Anybody who violently attacks a police officer should go to jail. So stop deflecting and bringing up other events. You started this phone call terribly, as you always do, and you started this call by saying that was a peaceful protest. Julie, the earth is not flat. It wasn't a peaceful protest. I don't care whether you call it an insurrection or not. The bottom line is this. People died that day. Officers in the weeks and months after committed suicide, and their family members said they were never the same after January 6th. Over 140 officers were injured that day and had to go to the hospital, many of them which have PTSD. It was an embarrassing day. It was a tragic day, and it was not peaceful, and I am sick and tired of people like you that continue to downplay what took place on January 6th, and I will never do that.
Let me speak, please. Let me speak. Can you allow me to speak or not? Hello?
Julie, I'm waiting for you to speak.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Okay. Brian, how do you know that those cops committed suicide? How do you know that?
Sure. I will give you an answer, and I am amazed and not surprised.
How do you know?
Sure, so I'll give you the answer. Would you like me to answer,
4
Julie?
cops committed suicide.
Julie, would you like me to answer?
Jail
Julie, so here's how this works, Julie. Here's
event?
pot her down again.
Really?
So this is how a radio show works. When you ask me a question, you give me the opportunity to answer it. Can I speak?
Yes. Go ahead.
Can I speak? May I speak?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure.
So there's something called an investigation when there is a death. When there is an investigation, there's a police report. When there's a police report, there's usually always at the end, when there is a cause of death, what happened in a police report. Several officers investigated for a death, and they were all ruled suicide. their family members, who I feel so sorry for because it's tragic, including their spouses, their kids, brothers and sisters, have done interviews. And all of them, family members, have said on the record that not only was it a suicide and the police dealt it as a suicide and investigated as a suicide, but claim that they fell into deep depressions after January 6th, and they were never the same person after January 6th. Now, if you don't believe me, Julie, then you can go ahead and look it up for yourself and find the names of those heroes who sadly took their own lives. I'm not going to let you respond to that because I'm not going to let you poo-poo on our brave members that day and those, sadly, who took their own lives. I answered your question, and I am not surprised that you don't know and can't spell the word fact, Julie. I appreciate your call. 702-221-7283. And again, 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. That's what these MAGA people do. They downplay January 6th. Those officers, instead of a normal human being, when I say about any type of person, whether it be a police officer or a citizen or anybody that commits suicide, most of the time, unless you're talking about Epstein, most of the time when a brave person, a police officer, anybody commits suicide, a normal reaction would be, oh my God, that's terrible. My heart goes out to their family and friends. What a terrible story. I'm so sorry to hear that. But the Julies of the world, the deplorables of the world will say, where's the evidence that it was a suicide? It must have been George Soros that did it. Decent human beings on the left and the right, when they hear somebody took their own life, their heart goes out to the family and friends. But not Julie, not the Julies of the world, ladies and gentlemen. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I'm hearing from some listeners that Julie is actually Mila on Facebook. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. And to be honest with you, I really don't care. All right, who do we got next here? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next up on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Roy?
Hi, Brian. I listened to your caller a couple of calls ago who just like kind of poo-pooed all the stuff but didn't really know the things that Trump says and does. And that's part of the problem. A lot of the people who support Donald Trump get their news from Fox News, which I hate to call news.
Fox Noise.
And they just don't understand. They don't know what he says and does. It's just unbelievable how ignorant of the facts they are. I'd like to mention one other thing. He talked about he doesn't like the Democrats spending money. Mm-hmm. When Bill Clinton left office, there was no deficit. George Bush came in after Clinton, and because of the Iraqi war, we wound up with a huge deficit, thanks to the Republicans. Yes, Obama spent money, and then Trump spent more money. It increased $7.8 trillion during his presidency.
Correct, and Nikki Haley said that on a debate stage. She said that on a debate stage. She was right.
And one of the problems you have is that when the Republicans get in office, their whole agenda, aside from protecting gun rights, their whole agenda is to cut taxes for the wealthy. And let's be realistic. Every time you cut taxes, you're reducing the revenue that the country takes in. Well, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to run a deficit. If you keep spending the same way and you take in less money, you're going to run a deficit.
Yeah,
it's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. You're 100% correct, and this is where I completely agree with Nikki Haley. And I want to maybe a little off topic, but Roy, I want to ask you about something else, and I wanted to tell this story on the air, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So, and I don't think Amy Tarkanian would mind if I brought this up, because Amy and I had a great conversation off the air and on the air yesterday. And if you don't know who Amy Tarkanian is, she's the former Republican, Nevada Republican chair, and she's anti-Trump now, and she speaks truth, and I have so much respect for her for doing that.
Right.
I have
know who her father is.
Yeah. Of course, Jerry Tarkanian, of course. So I have a listener of this show who is obsessed with me, okay? I'm not going to say his name. I've been on the air in Vegas for 20 years. I think he's been calling into my show maybe for the last 5 or 6 years. And I guess at one point he did some fundraising for Amy's husband, Danny. So Amy comes on the show. He calls Danny Tarkanian, giving them grief about Amy coming on my show, and then calls Amy Tarkanian, trying to blast her obsessively about her coming on my show as well. But it's interesting because these are people that are so kept up in their right-wing echo chamber that they only want to listen to radio hosts like the deplorables of Mark Levin and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and these idiots, that they don't want to listen to any opposition. They don't want to listen to anybody else. And God forbid, if a good, nice person comes on this show that happens to be a Republican and speaks truth to Donald Trump and says the earth is round and not flat, that person will obsessively call those people and harass those people. And I got to tell you something. This is the MAGA base. If you call out truth in Donald Trump, regardless of whether you're a lifelong Republican or not, they'll attack you. They'll call you a rhino. They'll ostracize you from the Republican Party. They'll harass you and, in this case, call you at your home. And I got to tell you something. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior. It's despicable. It's disgusting. And if you look up the word loser in the dictionary, it's that listener of this show who calls Amy Tarkanian and her husband complaining to them that, oh, my God, she came on Brian Shapiro's show and said all these bad things about Donald Trump. No, she spoke the truth, something that these people can't do. And I think there's a lot of people out there, Roy. There's a lot of people out there like this idiot who called up Amy Tarkanian and her husband yesterday. There's a lot of MAGAs out there, MAGA deplorables. That's what Hillary Clinton was talking about when she called them deplorables. That was a deplorable.
You're right. It is deplorable. And part of the problem is that they don't really get the truth. They don't really get the facts. And then you have a moron like Matt Gaetz who wants to don't pass legislation. Let's make sure that we don't call this an insurrection.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just come out? Why don't you have another resolution that Donald Trump is still the president of the United States? It's almost as stupid.
Yeah, it really is. And, it's funny because, well, it's not funny. It's sad. But, when you see these Republicans that were in the chambers on January 6th running for their lives, and by the way, I don't blame them for doing that. I would have been pretty scared as well. And then Lauren Boebert is giving the location of Nancy Pelosi's office and where she's at, and Ocasio-Cortez. And you have these people some of whom I've interviewed on this show, who were hiding in their offices. And then some want to characterize it as a tourist visit and no big deal. It's really sad that there are people like that out there, and it's even more sad that there are people in office like Matt Gaetz who continue to downplay what took place that day.
It's pathetic. But to show you the stupidity, I really think there should be a test to allow you to vote. A couple of years ago, I watched a show on TV. It was a goof, and this guy went around. It was like the old Candid Camera show, and he went around asking people, if Karl Marx runs for office, will you vote for him? And do you know about 7 out of the 10 people said, yeah, I probably would.
Well, I'm not surprised, Roy. You know why?
That's frightening.
You know what's I agree. You know what's even more frightening? In just about every poll out there, 60% of Republicans, let me repeat, 60, that's the majority for you MAGA people out there that struggle with math. 60% of Republicans believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. That's like saying 60% of Republicans think the earth is flat. I guess Kyrie.
So you have to remind them that he also lost the popular vote by over 7 million votes and lost the popular vote to Hillary as well.
Correct.
And we've talked about it. They'd never win another election if he took away the stupid electoral college.
It is not the silent. They are not the silent majority. Or I'm sorry, they are the silent. I guess you can call them the loud minority. They're not the silent majority. They call themselves the silent majority. They're the loud, obnoxious minority because the overwhelming number of people in this country understand who Donald Trump is. They understand the way he's lived his life, the way he's treated people that have worked for him, women in his life. They know the person that Donald Trump is, Roy, and that's why I think Joe Biden's going to win re-election in November.
And what do you think is going to happen when Joe Biden wins again? Assuming that Trump is the nominee, I'm not convinced that the Supreme Court is going to rule in his favor against Colorado. I'm really not convinced because if you read Section 3,
yeah, that's possible.
I know I know that it's a long shot.
Yeah.
But realistically, if you read Section 3, the man should not be allowed to run for office.
I agree with you 150%. 150%. I think you're not going to like what I'm going to say here. I think we're screwed either way. I think I hope I'm wrong, but I think that there's a lot of crazy people that are going to do crazy things in this country, and I hope I'm wrong on that one. But Roy, I do appreciate your phone call as always, and you have a good rest of your day. Okay.
You too, Brian. Talk soon.
All right. Thanks. So,
Bye.
So here's the thing, right? I just told a story about a caller who has listened to this show religiously, who called Amy Tarkanian and Amy Tarkanian's husband yesterday, upset that Amy came on my show. Now, I think we have that caller on the line now, so I don't care whether he doesn't want to talk about it or not. Oh, you do? Okay. So, JD, why did you harass one of my guests yesterday and call Danny Tarkanian and Amy Tarkanian, harassing them, calling them names, and angry that Amy Tarkanian did my show yesterday? Why would you do that, JD?
You misrepresented my call completely.
Why did you call them? Why did you call them?
I didn't harass either one of them.
Why did you call them?
Number one, let me finish.
I'll do whatever the hell I want to do. Why did you call them?
Well, I didn't harass them.
Why did you call them? Why don't you answer the question? Hey, Dope, why don't you answer the question? Why did you call them?
Hey, Dope, I'll answer your question.
Answer
if you
it.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, pot him down. Pot him down. Hey, idiot, you don't swear on this show. That's why you've never been a radio host. That's why you never will be a radio host. By the way, this is the same jackass who left me notes on my prior show begging to be my fill-in co-host. Hey, JD, you're talentless, you're a clown, and you harassed my guest, and you yelled at Amy Tarkanian for doing my show. Why don't you explain yourself, you clown, and don't swear because you'll never call into this show again if you do.
Nobody swears on your show, huh?
I just said if you swear on my show again, you're never going to call back, dummy. You understand that? Why don't you answer? Why don't you answer? Hey, Dope. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Answer.
I didn't harass her.
Why did you
All
call
I said to her is because she was spreading mistruths and
what
lies.
Did she say that was a mistruth? What did she say that was a mistruth?
You use her like a tool.
What did she use? What did she say? You're a tool. You're a tool. You're a tool. Hey, dumbass. All right, lower him down. You're a tool. You're a snowflake. You're a snowflake tool, a wannabe radio host. Nobody cares what you think about anything. You called Amy Tarkanian and you called Danny Tarkanian because you're a snowflake. Oh, she's spreading misinformation. Okay, Dope, I'll give you one more chance. Dope, I'll give you one more chance, wannabe radio talk show host, loser. What did she say that was misinformation? Go.
You're so insecure to debate.
Pot him down again. I just asked you a question, Dope. You snowflake. I'm going to ask it one more time and one more time only. What did she say on the show yesterday that was misinformation? Go.
She accused people of doing things like not allowing people into the Trump rally that were Haley people.
Pot him down. I know several people that were not allowed in the Trump rally that were DeSantis people. I know a woman named TK who has been a big part of the Republican Party who was not allowed in the rally and was on a list. You have absolutely no idea what you are talking about because I personally have spoken to those people who are lifelong Republicans who were kicked out of that rally. So, JD, now that we've proven that you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, God forbid if I have a Republican on tomorrow, are you going to call them too, JD? Are you going to be upset, Snowflake? Are you going to be upset, Snowflake?
You have proven nothing.
Thanks, JD. Guess what? Here's the thing about you, JD. You're invisible. Nobody cares what you think about anything. You're a wannabe radio talk show host who's irrelevant. You are the definition of irrelevant. You called one of my guests and her husband because you're a coward. You called her husband, and you were so upset. And by the way, you just failed miserably because you said that Amy Tarkanian, who, by the way, took 30 minutes on this show, and the only thing you could come up with is, oh, well, she lied and said that people were kicked out of the Trump rally. No, you're wrong. I've spoken to several people that were kicked out of the rally, Republicans, lifelong Republicans, some of whom even called into the show yesterday, and they're not lying. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You are the definition of a snowflake. What person who has a life calls the guest of a show because you don't agree with them or you don't like some of the things they said on my show? And then you MAGA Republicans out there want to call liberals and Democrats snowflakes? JD, why don't you get a life? Get a life. You are despicable. Get a life. There's a reason why you've never been and by the way, that's a true story I gave. This guy left me notes at another radio station asking me and begging me to fill in for me as a radio host. The guy showed up at one of my remotes. He is a bona fide loser. Hey, loser, don't call any of my guests anymore. Nobody cares what you think about anything. I'm so glad he called in. Calling my guest's husband yesterday. Why? I'll tell you why. Because she's the former Nevada Republican chair, and she speaks the truth about Donald Trump. But Snowflake JD doesn't like that. The man who can't spell the word fact. Snowflake JD doesn't like it when a Republican speaks truth and facts, because JD is in his little far-right MAGA orange echo chamber. Everybody that says anything on the air, this JD irrelevant turd has to agree with it. And if he doesn't agree with it, he's going to harass my guest and call my guest. You did harass her, because that's what she told me yesterday when I had a private conversation with her. And I'll take her word over yours, jackass. Don't call into this show anymore, JD. You're a fool. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Carl. Carl's next. What's up, Carl?
Yeah, Brian, I don't know how I can follow that. with that, I'd have to lose my mind first to follow that. But listen, you talked before. I got a real kick out of it about Lindell. I really get a laugh out of that. He's
Lumpy pillows. Lumpy pillows.
Yeah, he's a man who has an F rating from the Better Business Bureau because he was thrown out of every big box store he was in. His pillows were in almost all the big stores because he cheated the public, people who bought them. He didn't send them what he was supposed to. They'd buy two, he'd send one, and whatever.
Yeah.
And he got an F rating. And the man is he does business like Trump used to do business.
Hey, Carl, can I
They're
ask you a
both the
question?
same.
I agree with you. Carl, can I ask you a question, changing the subject? I respect your opinion. Should I ban JD from the show?
Probably. It's he only is a male Julie. Yeah. You're not going to get anything either one of them.
Those two would make a great couple. You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
you're right.
I mean,
but I don't even
them.
I don't even think Julie would go as far as to harass one of my guests and call them and their spouse.
Well, no.
Insanity.
Actually, that's to call somebody at home or something.
Oh, it's so
that's
absurd.
Harassment.
I didn't harass her. She spread misinformation. Oh, really? What misinformation did she spread? She said people weren't kicked out of the Trump rally. Yes, they were. This guy's such an idiot. All right, thanks, Carl, for the phone call. I appreciate you, my man. I got to get to some other calls. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Damon. I want to go to Damon next. Hi, Damon. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Brian?
How you doing?
Please do not ban JD. Please, he's one of your best buffoons, man.
He is. That's what makes me.
That's the reason I listen.
I agree.
That Julie. Oh, that Julie is the best ever. I'm glad you answer every phone call from her, Brian.
It is radio gold.
I haven't been called.
It is.
You know how when Congress go, I yield my time to Julie. I want to hear what she thinks.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of radio gold. I don't disagree with you, but I will say this: when you start harassing my guests for coming on, that's where I kind of draw the line, Damon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that ain't right.
No,
and she, like you say, she used to support Trump. Now she don't. But that's the worst kind for them, Brian. You know how Trump treat people that don't like him anymore.
Absolutely.
They hate people that come to their senses. That's the worst thing for them, because if everybody comes to their senses, they will be no more.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's what I try to get people to do: come to their senses. You know, I mean, that's what I try to do on this show. Yeah, but it's like, where are we at? Where are we at as a country right now when a listener of this show starts calling the spouse of one of my guests angry that they came on the show? By the way, she didn't spread any misinformation, and JD has no idea what he's talking about. But anyway.
I listen to her. Wow, I actually like her now.
You know what? I like her too, and she's a friend of mine. And Damon, I will take your suggestion in the comment box, and I will take it under consideration.
Keep the buffoons coming, Brian. Keep the buffoons coming.
Damon, I'm going to take that into consideration, and I appreciate your call, Damon. Thank you very much. All right. Take care, Damon. I love Damon. He's the best. 702-221-7283. Susan is next. What's up, Susan?
Hi. I just wanted to say a few things.
Sure.
I cannot believe that JD called Amy Tarkanian and her husband.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just simply insane.
Yes, it is.
Call because you disagree with what they said.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a private citizen in her own home.
Not only that,
that
I
is-
agree, Sue, but to make it even worse, he claims that she spread misinformation. And I said, what did she spread? And then he says, she said that people weren't kicked out of the Trump rally. Like he has any idea what he's. I've talked to people personally that were kicked out of the Trump rally. It's
Yeah.
so absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk about Julie.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you kind of misrepresented yourself the other day because you said you weren't going to take any more calls from her, and you did.
Oh, did I say that? I don't
think
remember.
that's funny. Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately,
Yeah.
I should say fortunately, part of the reason why I do this show is to make people laugh, entertain people, and, hopefully, educate and give people the news and all that other stuff. There are a lot of Damons out there that like Julie, and they like it when she calls in. Here's the thing. I'm not going to ban Julie because she hasn't harassed one of my guests. I am going to consider banning JD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. But some of these people, I'll be honest with you, they make for good radio. So it's kind of a love-hate.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a love-hate relationship. You know what I'm saying, Susan?
Yeah, I do. Also, I wanted to say that the pillow guy is a horrible choice for the RNC because he's such a joke.
Yeah, but
I mean,
wouldn't it
if
be?
They make him.
But wouldn't it
the
be great?
joke.
But wouldn't it be great for my show, and wouldn't it be great for all of us to just make fun of him every day?
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah, I mean, I agree
Yeah.
with you, but do you really think the Republican Party is going to choose the right person? No, they're not. Of course not.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Susan,
They're-
you're right.
They've lost their way.
Yeah, they've lost their way a long time ago.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe if Mike Lindell isn't chosen, maybe we could get him on this show, and then maybe JD will call his wife. I don't know. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Susan, always good to hear from you. I appreciate your call, Susan. That's what it's all about, making you laugh. Life is short,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you coming on, Susan. Thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
for
I love
calling.
the show.
Thanks, Susan. That means a lot. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Do we have enough time for maybe squeezing in what? One more? Let's go to Fernando. Fernando, what's up? Oh, Fernando hung up, though. I have to go to break, so that's okay. I will say this. In my 20-year radio career, I've never had anybody harass one of my guests and call them personally, so that's definitely a first for me. Unacceptable. That can't happen. But when Hillary Clinton used the term deplorable, she was talking about people like JD. I want you all to do me a favor. Go on Occupy Democrats and click on the subscription link. It's only $5 a month. You're supporting what I do. Okay? Follow me on my socials, please. It's free on YouTube at PTL Radio Show, on TikTok. On Facebook, you can find me, Brian Shapiro. Look for the pasty, bald, white guy. That would be me. Here, a programming note. We're going to be playing the best of the next 2 days. I am taking the next 2 days off. However, the good news is we're still going to be streaming on Occupy Democrats, and I'm going to be playing interviews. I have a 50-minute interview with, yes, the insurrectionist himself, Jacob, also known as the what is he called? The Q-shaman? The Q-shaman? We're going to be playing that tomorrow to start the show. Plenty of other interviews that you might not have heard. We're going to be playing it the next 2 days. But I'm going to take the next two days off, and we'll be back live on Monday. Thank you to all the callers, except JD. We will take a 90-second break. If you want to continue watching this show, subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. Take a quick break. We're going to talk some Super Bowl, some NBA, some sports when we come back with Mr. Paul McKeskey. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.